Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. So Deontay Wilder, a day or so ago, he comes out on social media very publicly in only a manner that Deontay Wilder can achieve. He basically says to the world, look, I've got this offer from Anthony Joshua, it's in the UK, I have accepted the terms for it, I'm willing to fight him in the UK. And we've had Shelley Finkel, his co-manager, come in behind that and say, look, it may not have been the offer that we were trying to negotiate, but we are going to take an offer less than is designed because we want this fight. And we know that this offer, as Shelley Finkel said, that he's accepted, that it's not a percentage deal, it's some sort of flat fee. What that figure is, we don't know yet. So naturally, I took this to be actually we've been in a stalemate of sorts. And I thought this is pretty good news. We've had Deontay Wilder coming out saying something, we've been wanting to hear. Someone actually saying, yeah, I've accepted the terms to the fight. And obviously the rub with that is the contract. But I was expecting a somewhat positive flavour to come out of this in terms of what people were saying and how they were reacting to it. But what was somewhat surprising, and I've seen this all over the place, but I will focus on my own comment section because I think it sort of is a bit of a microcosm of the wider situation. There were certain themes that were definitely coming through very strongly that I thought it was worth touching on because the respective fan bases, Anthony Joshua's fans, there's some very loyal fans there, and it's the same for Deontay Wilder. And it's not just loyal. It's for both of them. There's some very hardcore, staunch supporters of both who have got some very distinct views on this. And in terms of what the general themes were, I was expecting that people would go, okay, this is pretty good. I'm looking forward to this. Let's get this done. And sure, there was some of that, but there was, I would say, a majority of comments were sort of skeptical in some sort of way. It's almost like a number of fans have been, because of what's happened in negotiations, because of the manner of negotiations, the back and forth, the saltiness, the antics, leaking to the media, not accepting offers, people, saying this, not honouring, there's been all sorts of different things that have happened in this negotiation. And it's like fans have some, on both sides, have almost got some form of shell shock, and they've just sort of retreated into themselves a bit, and instantly they see this statement from Deontay Wilder. If you're a Joshua fan, a hardcore fan, and they meet it with skepticism. And on the other side of the coin, one of the sort of general themes was, look, Deontay Wilder is trying to make this fight Anthony Joshua. He doesn't want it. He's ducking. He's going to take Povetkin. And the general tenor was very, very surprising. To me at least. Perhaps I shouldn't be surprised. It's boxing after all. Anything can and does happen. And I guess that extends to the fans as well. But in terms of some of what's been going on, I just thought, actually, let's get into this a little bit. You have a look at this one here. Until a contract is signed, the fight is off. Wilder has not signed. So stop giving Wilder a voice because he's just talk. If you look at his record versus Joshua, it's clear who ducks and who's the real deal. If AJ fights Povetkin, it will be the worst duck of history that he's had the chance to make 50 million. Wilder will win in 6 rounds. In terms of predictions, that's over to you what you actually think. But in terms of the general tenor of comments, as I'm sort of going through some of this, you're not exactly hearing the sort of, yay, I'm really excited for this. This looks like it's going to happen. And here's another one. I'm not excited until the bell rings. Wilder doing all his PR stunts just makes me not excited. When they're both in the ring, that's when I'll believe the fight is happening. And I don't disagree with some of that sentiment in terms of the, I'll believe it when I see it sort of thing. But it's, and have a look at this one. Someone's argumentative, pissed up, or both. Boxing Squared, you have to learn you can't get through these people, ignore these fools. And that comment there was actually made into, I had a number of people sort of attacking me, going on about how I was not giving Deontay Wilder any credit or his dues and all sorts of rubbish. It was just complete crap. And this is what I'm talking about. Some people will not let facts get in the way of a good story. They'll ignore everything for their one-sided biased position. And have a listen to this one. Wilder is about to sign the worst and most exploitive contract in heavyweight boxing history. If he were wise, he would hold off. I mean, it's a pretty big statement to say it's the worst and most exploitive contract in heavyweight history. I mean, what's that based on? You don't even know what the purse is. What if the purse is 20 million? I mean, yeah, that sounds like he's getting exploited. I mean, geez, they can milk me for 20 if they want as well. Okay, so just going through a couple more here. If the fight don't happen, it's AJ fault, period. Now that Joshua is in prep for Povetkin, Windmill accepts. AJ is fighting Povetkin next and Windmill is fighting Brazil next. After that fight, Joshua versus Windmill. I think a lot of people were thinking, and this was a prevailing theme, certainly earlier in some of the comments, why has Deontay Wilder left this so late? This is one of the things people were questioning. Here's another one, Wilder going to get pumped by AJ. Wilder realised that it's probably the biggest paycheck ever, laughing my ass off. AJ is not the A side when there is 50 million still available. This proves Deontay Wilder is willing to make the fight more than AJ. I mean, here's one that, this is a minority of comments at last. I mean, that's the way that I was thinking. I was like, geez, we've got some news here. Someone arguing with me on Shelley Finkel's what he'd said. Wilder didn't accept no flat fee. Hearns has offered more than 12.5 million since the first offer. That's a lie. Well, I had to take this, there's a number of comments here. This idiot wasn't actually even listening to the video. Shelley Finkel says they've accepted a flat fee. It's not up for debate. And if you don't watch the entire video and you don't actually get some of the context, don't be putting ridiculous comments like this in the comment section. I never mentioned he'd taken 12.5 million. That's ridiculous. And it goes on. Wilder and Finkel have been very unprofessional from the start. This guy couldn't even KO Charlie Zelenoff. All the AJ fanboys are sweating now. Lol, I see all their salty ass comments. The prey is not real. Or they pray it is not real. Wilder's 50 million offer was for one fight deal. I sincerely want a first round KO. Wilder kissing the canvas. Tired of all this talk. Please, please, please let this finally happen. Amen to that. So, it goes on and on and on and on. So this is just all the pages, the one page at a time. So there's, hundreds of comments on all this sort of stuff. So, and there was the definite theme. So some people glad that it looks like there's some progress, but most definitely an air of skepticism from both sides. Anthony Joshua fans adamant this is not real. Something's going to go wrong. Deontay Wilder's just trying to trap Anthony Joshua. Wants to say that he's ducking him and he's left it so late because he wants to fight Alexander Povetkin. That's the general tenor of the comments. And in terms of Deontay Wilder's side, what's being said is that Anthony Joshua doesn't want the fight. He's going to fight Povetkin. He's going to duck. This is, Wilder is the one who wants the fight. AJ doesn't want this fight. And some of the stuff, I hear it and I just think, like there's grains of truth to some of the stuff, but some of it is just so overblown. There has been some news since the last video, but I'm not going to go into it in any sort of depth because you've probably seen and heard it on other channels now. But effectively, look, if September doesn't work, Eddie Hearn is saying Joshua and Wilder may go to Wembley in October or November. Thought it might be quite cold then. But, a 90,000 stadium, that is something that, certainly is selling the tickets and probably a decent price, probably more than normal. Not a bad idea. But, we see this as a Wembley fight and we're quite limited in that respect. And actually, there was a number of people in the comment section saying this is the latest excuse not to make the fight. And, I just don't know how people's minds work because that doesn't make any sense to me. So they're saying they want to fight at Wembley. They'll try to go to a date and they're looking at October or November. How is that Anthony Joshua not wanting the fight? Or on the other side of it, if Deontay Wilder says he's ready to sign a contract, Can we not give him some credit that he actually wants to sign the contract? If he turns around and doesn't sign the contract and the excuse is thin and it sounds like bullshit, well, we'll call him on it. Okay, and the other news, we've got Hearn will see if Wilder's real when he gets the contract. And this is sort of just going what I was talking to. So he's talking to Sky Sports there. What are they saying? If they keep their word, then we've got a fight. So that's Wilder's co-manager JD. So he was talking to the AP. We offered $50 million, which is what he wanted. Then he turned it down. Then they came back with a much, much, much smaller offer for Deontay. Well, that's a ridiculous statement in itself. Were they ever going to turn around and offer $50 million to Deontay Wilder? He was never getting $50 million, and they never disclosed what his side of that, purse would be. But it wasn't going to be $50 million. And so this comment saying, they got a smaller offer back, well, of course they did. The A side isn't going to offer the B side anywhere near what he's going to be getting. But in terms of, what are they saying here? Eddie Hearn says he seems to do a lot of talking on social media, and we'll see whether it's bluster or whether he knows whether the Povetkin fight is in the balance. Well, he probably does know that, because that's why they've accepted the terms and they want the contract. And I think a majority of fans, despite whether, where you're on the spectrum of fandom and whether you can be objective about some of these things, we want this fight. We don't want an Alexander Povetkin fight. I mean, not yet. I mean, sure, that's not a bad fight, but we don't want that fight next. Okay, so this was a little bit of a rant and a rave, but yeah, I thought, some of what's being said and the way it's being said, it sort of goes beyond the pale sometimes, and it bears not showing the stuff that doesn't hit the comment section, the stuff that gets caught in the filter. I mean, some people just got to relax. Let's just hope this fight gets made and we can do it. I think that's not too much to ask. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. This is a bit more laid back and, shooting from the hip tonight. But, I will look to do some of these more depending on what the feedback is. So, play nice in the comment section there, people. We'll have to see what it says now about the respective fan bases going at the respective fan bases. There's probably going to be no winners. Okay, drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.